It's spring, and I love that color green, and I'm going to be using the retro stamp. We're going to be stamping and painting, and then I have a whole ton of old, not old, but parts and pieces of floral stamp, transfers that we're going to put on and decorate it. So without further ado, I'm going to put this camera down and I'm going to show you where we're going to start. Here's my piece of plywood, and I've already painted it green. I got this Wise Owl green paint in Joshua Tree for actually just for this spring market that we're doing, but I loved it for St. Patty's Day, so I did put a little clip of it up when I did my St. Patty's Day post. So stamp set, and I love the retro stamps for lots of reasons. One of which is they're big enough that if you stamp them on paper, colored paper that you like, that you could cut them out really, really easily. The other thing is they're big and bold enough that you can paint them. There's not a lot of intricate little lines, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be painting actually after we stamp. So the first thing we're going to do is stamp, and I'm eyeing this. This is a piece of scrap plywood, and I want it to look as scrappy as possible. So I'm getting my letters set, and what I do is I keep these letters attached to a piece of the thin mounts. I have already cut them out and attached them, and I'm always keeping them attached. I wash them while they're attached so that they're ready to use. I don't have to go and, let's make sure I have all, I don't have to go and find them. W-E-R-S. And I did not cut this for this size. It just so happened that it is just the perfect size. So I am using my turmeric ink. And the reason I'm using the turmeric ink on this green is because it's pretty close to the same color, but it is also easy for me to see when I want to paint it. So I'm going to start with my F, and like I said, I'm just eyeing it kind of in the middle. And turmeric is our yellow gold color. I guess it would be our yellow color. So I'm going to start. And here is my first letter. Again, I'm just eyeing it, but pretty close to the middle. I am using my chalk paint, and I am using Isles Ave, which is an kind of like an off-white. And all I'm going to do, and like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, is I'm going to paint in the lines. If I don't get it exactly, it's okay, because it will make a nice shadow, this little bit of turmeric. And don't worry, guys, I am not going to paint all these letters. I have already done the other side with just the letters on it, so that you could see we could move to the next step. And this brush is actually too fat, so I'm going to try a different one. So I've got to come up with a whole bunch of different sayings for the fronts of my spring signs, because we have We're doing an early show, a show April 12th, I think. And that's very early for us to have a spring show. We don't usually it's not till the very last week of April. Okay, so you guys probably can't even see me. See? I get so into what I'm doing, I forget to turn the board. But you could see how I'm just going within the lines. And that line is good. It helps you to get a nice straight line. This green is chalk paint and this white is chalk paint. And the reason I do that is so that we can distress it afterwards and get that really nice old vintage look. Okay? So this is what you would do. You would just paint them whatever color you want them to be and paint them all. Then the next thing I did is I want to distress my background. I'm going to put this paint away because you guys don't need to watch me paint all these letters. But I also need another. So I use these vintage textures stamps. This is what you get in the vintage textures, and I tell everybody this: you need this set of stamps for everything you do, whether you work on furniture or if you work on paper or if you work on wood. Whatever you do, you need this set of stamps. And what I am going to do today is I'm going to take my black ink and I'm going to try to get it so you guys can see everything I'm doing. And I'm just going to distress the background with black. And I'm using ink and I'm pushing down pretty much, trying to get quite a bit because obviously this color is already dark and we want to make sure we can see it. So you're just going to flop it down and then I call it Josie's tickle. Because we don't want to have the sharp edges, so we're just kind of tickling it so that we don't see it as a square. And I'm going to go ahead and do that all over this whole piece. Now, I'm going to also do it over the white, the letters. So if these letters were white, I would be just doing this right over the letters, okay? Okay, so that's how I do the background. Stamp the flowers, color them in. I like this font. It's really simple. It looks very primitive or, retro. All right, so I'm going to turn this over and show you. So here is the side that I already did. Sanded it back a little bit after I painted it. Same thing, did this particular part of the vintage textures. I just take this and I go stamp it all the way around the edges to give me that kind of paint peeling off the edges. I also sanded the whole thing back. This sign is plywood, which is what the other one was also. So when you sand back the wood on the plywood, you kind of get that ridgy, because plywood isn't super smooth, get that ridgy kind of look. So there is what this sign looks like after I've stamped it, painted it, and then sanded it all back, and then I put a top coat on, because we're going to be putting some old transfers on it. They're not old transfers. I keep calling them. They're parts of transfers that I've already used. I had to put seal it, so I sealed it with a matte varnish. So now I'm going to pick out some super fun. Let's grab all of these pieces and decide what we're going to put on. I have way too many pieces. And I also need a stick. Okay. So now you really could just make it yourself. You know exactly how to make this sign. But let's put some fun transfers on it. Now this one is from Wander, and Wander is really a neat transfer in that it looks very much like a hand-painted, turn it this way. It looks very much like hand-painted flowers. So I overlapped when I did the other sign, and I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I might just put this whole piece there. Why not? I'm going to cut this one out, though. I don't want that much flower there. We won't use this one because it'll take up just a little bit too much of that. So I'm going to cut that out. But I also love pink, and this is kind of like a pink. I love pink and green together. So if I pop that off the edge a little bit, I'll see how much. We'll see. Let's put that down. See how much of that. I don't want to cover all of the letters. I just want to be able to see that it says flowers. Okay, so I'm going to have to separate those. So when you're cutting these like this, after you've already taken the backing sheet, be careful not to touch any part of it, because you want to keep that clean. So I'm going to put this one right here. Maybe put it on that kind of an angle. There. There. Love it. And I'm going to put this one that we just cut off kind of up here. But we don't, again, I don't want to cover up all the letters. I just want to make sure you can still read the flowers. So I kind of got to put that on a little bit of an angle there. And that's fine. Okay. I think we're good. I actually think I'm happy with it. I don't want to cover up any more of my flowers. So here's my flowers. It's all I did. Use old scraps. This, the retro stamp, painted, sanded, sealed, and flowers. Mother's Day coming up and spring shows and stuff. It's a perfect time, and it's kind of retro looking with all the different things, and it just has that actually has a little bit of a bohemian look, I guess.